I'll be showing the nodeloader that is hosted. What this integration does is to provide a webhook that runs an integration that allows us to load a rich node model into our store. The nodes I'm talking about are the nodes that make up an hierarchy tree. I want to clarify that the nodeloader does not create hierarchies, but rather it loads nodes into existing hierarchies. So you need to have your hierarchies in place already. Let's switch over to the integrations hub and search for our node importer. Let's select elasticpathcommercecloud node import, click on configure. You can expand the trigger details to see the webhook. There's also an option to add an API and click next. Here we see our option log level. This sets the general log level for the integration. We also have the elapsed execution time cutoff, which is a safety mechanism defaulted to 4 hours to prevent any runaway recursions. The default page size is the size of the page or chunk to default to if not provided as a webhook parameter, which will become clearer later. But basically the integration chops up the node files you provide into smaller chunks called pages, and the page size is the number of nodes that make up a chunk. Click on connect. If you haven't already figured the connection, you'll need to supply your store base URL. You'll need to supply your client ID and your client secret as per any other loader. You can also configure the throttling configuration. What this does is causes the importer to restrain the number of calls it makes over the specified time window. We can click on finish and see that our integration is configured within the store. Now, if I want to get to the webhook URL again, I can click on view configuration, copy that. We'll paste it into Postman. We'll use Postman to make the request in this case. Right, so in Postman I've pasted the URL. I'm using a post. I then configure the body, set it to raw, set it to JSON. The minimum I need to provide in here is the gzip file URLs. It's an array of files. I've provided only one file. Notice that they are gzip JSON files that you'll provide. These URLs need to be public so that the integration can read them. We also have parameters file index, which specifies which file to start with. 0 is the first one, and it'll process through all files to the end from that one onward. Page size is again the chunk size, and the page parameter is which page to process. So 0 is the first page. In terms of URLs, as I said, they need to be public. You can supply an S3 pre-signed URL if your S3 bucket is private, in which case the URL will expire and cease to be publicly usable after a short period of time. You only have to provide gzip file URLs. The other 3 are optional. And when we're ready, we can hit send. Click on executions. And there we can see that the integration was invoked 4 times. Essentially, there were 4 pages of data in the file I provided. That's why we have 4 invocations there. Let's have a look at the file itself that we provide. First, let me show that the nodes were created. I'm just selecting the hierarchies that the nodes were created into. And if we explore into one of those, we'll see that nodes have been created. There we go. We've got movies, music, and so on. So these are nodes from my file. And you can see that the music node has a child node underneath it. So that demonstrates that we are able to create hierarchies of nodes. This is what your node file will look like. It's JSON, but you do need to gzip it. The integration expects it to be gzip. Each line in this file is a piece of JSON. This file is in JSON lines format. So the entire file is not JSON. Just each line with its line terminator is JSON. Let's go into more detail. A single line and show you what it looks like. A single line of JSON will provide the slug for the node. It'll provide hierarchy slug to identify the hierarchy that it's in. The parent slug, if the parent slug is blank, that means this is a top level node. We can then provide the localized name. Now we have French, Canadian, and English locales, and we can do the same for the description.